Hey there. I've returned to the indoor world after the pool art talk in the blazing sun. So I'm basically sitting facing the computer, the PC, where I spend a lot of time, and I'm going to get going painting pretty soon. But I did I think I just said I was going to do a live video, so this is it. And I guess it put me in mind of okay, what kind of a magical event can I put on for people who might drop by my live video? And it's pretty limited. You could have watched me drink a lemony soda or have some gyoza, but I don't think anybody needs to watch that kind of thing. But I did want to connect today, and the pool thing that was supposed to be live, but so I'm going to get on to painting pretty soon. I don't know what subject I'm going to work on. I don't think I'll do more skiers. The astronaut and bathing cap is finished. Not quite sure, and like I was saying earlier, not necessarily planned in advance what I'm gonna do. So it's a funny feeling to be setting up to paint, get the canvases out and take the plastic off them, and not know yet which subject of the catalog of faces I work from, which one I'm going to go with. But when I see it, it's that any sort of hesitation or ambiguity of where what am I going to be doing completely disappears, and it's full commitment and excitement to take on whatever it is I decide on. And sometimes I will. I'm not never faithful to that specific person. It's not about creating a likeness, obviously. So things like, well, they almost rarely ever look like the subject. So I might introduce a different mouth, different hair, colors, whatever. It's about moving the paint around into composition and how the colors, the bulk of a certain amount of color relies on another area of color. Those are the kind of things I'm thinking about, as well as emotions that evolve, and then I'm really constructing a person, a character that maybe I've come into some awareness of in the long life of interacting with people or studying people. So sometimes I'll think, this is a familiar face, but it's nobody. It's a type of person. My view of a type of person that I might never have had any connection with, but there's still empathy. I think a lot of it has to do with empathy. Of you create a whole. It feels like a whole person out of an awareness of an understanding of what people are on a psychological, emotional. Hey, this is good material. Because it is a funny thing. Like, what the hell am I doing? These aren't likenesses. Are they portraits even? They're faces. And I sometimes maintain that they come out of the whole novel writing process because of the hours laboriously building people and then subsequently characters, moving them around and maintaining their personalities by demonstration. So I sometimes think that is switch over to the visual, and all of that work, hundreds of hours, 15 years of writing novels, a real focus on that's what I was doing. and doing it in an untrained way of having to be very aware that there are a lot of ways to go wrong in that field. So I think the great thing about painting, I often think, is contrary to novels and music, is that you experience the entire thing in one grasping. It's not over time. The brain doesn't have to store information about a character or think about what elements of a musical composition have come before, maybe just 1 minute before, and how does that now inform what comes after. So the brain is required to be a storage camp while you're experiencing over time a novel or music. It's a huge relief to be creating things that have as much territory, psychological territory and challenge of creation, but you can just look at them and you get it. And because they're faces, we're damn good at experiencing them and knowing a lot, because that's kind of our specialty as humans, is reading a face for what it's putting out there, willingly or knowingly. There's a lot that we read from the face. So to endeavor to create all of that from a blank it's a great thing. Like doing it every time, there are things that I've never done before each time, and that I'll try to remember to do next time, or I'll work with specific colors that I am enjoying, a new blend of a certain type of red with a brown and then a bit of blue maybe, or mixing, I think I talked about this the other day, but mixing green and red, which are opposing or complementary colors, opposite colors. So in theory they should make black, but really they're only going to make black if they're 100% opposite in all their components. There's no blue overriding the green. It's a pure green and a pure red together should make a black paint. Well, it rarely ever does, but you get a damn good brown out of this sort of endeavor to mix opposites. So because I have some green paint, because I mix it in with things for that purpose, and it's quite a nice green. I don't really like green anyway, but it's a green that I do like, and I'll use that quite a bit mixed with a burnt sienna, so kind of a rough sepia color, and in that way I've got sort of the bedrock of backgrounds or outlining paint, or hair a lot of times will fall into that category. I don't even know where I started this sentence. I think it's fairly long at this point. But just the experience of painting, which, because I do it in a solitary situation here, I don't get to talking about it. I talk to Dave a lot. Once a week we get on the phone. And tend not to really talk about how painting occurs in our conversation. So it turns out that I don't talk about the process of painting, which is, it feels like a real luxury to be doing it with you there listening, because you are the people who are a major component of the operation here. Not that what you contribute essentially affects what I produce, but I really do like that instant gratification of the performance element, let's say, because I'm quite used to that. And it's not a bad thing, because, for instance, when you're on stage and you're giving a performance, how the audience is can affect you. It doesn't, I mean, it probably always does, but it can be 3 people out there, and they're aware that they're responsible for representing what is known as the audience, as a part of the equation. So those 3 people might get a damn good show because of how they take that responsibility. Whereas sometimes if an audience is bigger and there can be a great distance because they're out there, and as individuals it's like a mob mentality where they're the audience, they're protected by their vast numbers, and you're on stage and you're working and working, and they seem impervious to the subtleties of what you're giving them because there's such a detached sensibility in that dynamic. Anyway, this is getting way more philosophical than I ever thought it would. So back to your role as people on Facebook specifically. I'm always really happy to finish, and when they finish, it's so obvious to me. Even if I was aiming for something else, if they get to a point where they're finished, I'm able to stop and not fiddle with things, which invariably, it does happen that I've wrecked a few things and then had to work beyond that. And I think the frustration of doing that means that the work is very different from that point forward, and sometimes more difficult in getting it somewhere else that's as good. And you think, wow, I really shouldn't have, it was a whole different painting a little while ago. So there are those lessons that you try to employ in every session of painting. But I really enjoy photographing it and getting it in front of you, and I feel very fortunate and grateful to get a reaction instantly. I mean, could it be any better as a painter? Which I guess in the history of painting, it's pretty much typical that an artist is locked away in some grotto painting, and if they're lucky enough to get it in front of people, they are probably not present for the reaction, unless they're selling it on the street or something, or having people come into their studio. But there's always that middleman of the other side of the business where your gallerist is controlling the environment and their clients in that exchange. So as an artist, I guess you just hear about it, that you had a particular sale, that the person was very happy with it, or they liked the sky, or they particularly enjoyed the brook running through the trees or something, whatever feedback, who knows what you hear. But it's interesting because I, over time, can get a sense of who I think might like a particular painting, even based on what they have already bought or other things that they've liked. I keep a sort of an inadvertent tally of who I know would like something along whatever lines. So it's always interesting to see if that gets a reaction from that. It's conversational, really, is what it is. It sounds sort of weirdly cloying or something to paint and then see if someone, reacts to it according to what you might imagine. But to me, it's the language of any art form is some kind of communication, as well as the act of painting is primarily, the time of painting is what the art is. It's not particularly the product at the end of it, but it's nice to have the product to say, yes, I just spent however much time, and this is what the result of it is, of my experience exploring and thinking. And ideally, a person sees it's an avenue to understand what might have taken place in that time. Whereas with music, obviously, if you're watching a musician play, you see them with their instrument and in the moment of creation. So there are parallels, but there are strong differences for sure in how all of this goes down. So thank you for being out there. It's very important, and it's an exciting time to be able to create painting and have an audience practically just there. I mean, it couldn't get any better. So thank you, and it's great to be able to inch forward and have a goal. And talking about the house and the artist residency is a whole other conversation, but it really feels like it could happen. Now it's a matter, I mean, it could happen soon, but I do think strategically being patient and having more resources and doing it in a time that's safer. And I mean, there's a sense of, well, I don't think we should get into this right now, but I want the whole thing to be a little bit more clear as to what the future holds, as far as what sort of facility is going to be required in terms of space and proximity. It's just there were already too many variables. So I say I'm going to keep painting. My goal is going to be to create a phenomenal amount of painting, which is not challenging as I develop more skills and loosen up, which is never a bad thing in art, to be looser and to work in ways that are less sort of finicky and laborious. So I've got that on my side. I find creating 3 paintings a day to be almost less strenuous than to focus on one and the drama of this. I don't know. There's things that you can adjust or I adjust my awareness and within the framework of what the goal is and what people will feel is a viable number to have to choose from, and all these things. Wow, boy, I don't get out much. Okay, so thank you, and I'll go paint now, and I'll be putting up what I do later on. Bye for now.